But we are on the show. It's me, Hugh, and Jen Frankel will be here any minute now to join with myself and our first guest of the day. Geoffrey West is here. You came down all the way from the North Country.
Beautiful downtown metropolitan Barrie.
There you go. Do you live downtown Barrie?
Not quite. More on the, what would it be, the southern shore of Kempenfelt Bay, I guess.
Very nice.
Tollendale area.
Yeah.
But not for much longer. So my mother's been living there for 23 years, and, last year I was living in Sweden. I came over here. I'm helping her to sell her house now, so her house has been sold. So.
And then what? What's she going to do? What are you going to do?
She's going to go live with her partner in Peterborough, or near Peterborough,
yeah.
Lakefield it's called. Me, right. I'll just continue living homeless. Wherever I end up next is, as they say, I am wherever I hang my hat.
Is your home.
Yep, right. Exactly.
Okay, well that's...
So we'll see what all unfolds, but it's always exciting. Things are always changing in my world.
Yeah, well that's great. And so Geoffrey, I know you do the Cosmic Vision News, right? And you're in touch with all kinds of things that are happening, and a lot of things seem to be happening. What are some of the things that are happening that we can talk about right now?
Wow. What can't we talk about?
Oh, by the way, we had Travis Walton here. Right.
I heard that, yeah. So we had the Alien Cosmic Expo conference, which was held in Brantford.
Did you go?
I didn't, no. Unfortunately, I didn't get there.
By the way, they spotted some radionic ships there.
Oh,
just within the last week, I got a photo from a Delanova star, Livingston of Uversa, who, apparently saw and took a photo of one of these radionic ships over Brantford just after the conference.
So it could have been maybe a Cabal ship that was coming in to prevent Victor Vigiani from disclosing all his NORAD information.
Victor Vigiani was here also chairing the conversation with Travis Walton.
Oh, very cool. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you were able to get that connection.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good.
Well, yeah. So you know Victor?
Not personally. Yeah. I have been briefly in contact with him.
Yeah.
About a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was in contact with a few people down here. I have reached out to them. They vaguely get back to me, but we've never really been able to establish some kind of rapport, and I'm not quite sure why.
Right.
It's a bit like Stephen Bassett of the Paradigm Research Group. I mean, he's the lobbyist in Washington who has been pushing for disclosure of a galactic presence on Earth, and I've been trying to reach out to him as well, but he's been resistant of dealing with me because my newscast goes a bit in the direction that he feels he can't go. In other words, he wants to only focus on the political aspect of disclosure. He's not ready, and I understand this. At least I'm getting better at understanding this. He doesn't want to quite go into the spiritual, the galactic family aspect of it, because for him to talk about that in a political circle, for him that's just a little bit too voodoo, woo-woo out there.
So what is this galactic family thing?
So, essentially, the galactic family is everyone, and in many ways, it's us. I mean, it's the all that is. It's everything that we are a part of that just happens to be not on Earth. So the argument goes that, even within our human DNA, we have parts of our DNA that seem to be, people are talking about now as being non-Earth origin. So we have so much of this quote-unquote junk DNA that we haven't yet mastered. Now, I firmly believe that there are people who do know what this junk DNA is, but it's been held dormant for a certain period of time because in this human journey of awakening to who we are, we've had to go through this experience of polarity, we've had to go through this experience of duality, and in order to prepare ourselves for a day when we would begin to awaken as humans, a certain part of our DNA has probably been coded with the information that will allow us to awaken when that individual needs to awaken. So some of us will feel called to move through certain life experiences. It could be traumatic experiences, it could be joyful experiences, it could be an experience in poverty, it could be an experience being a wealthy billionaire, greedy as all could be, or even a billionaire philanthropist. However we have been called to serve at this time is the path that each human is taking, and the trick is how to activate that memory and when to activate that memory so that the individual begins to remember why he or she came here and what that role was meant to fulfill, especially now, because things, I think, are really starting to heat up.
Well, where do I begin? First of all, I just want to go on record as saying I don't have any DNA. Number one. Okay. Now the other thing is that
there's a DNA that's been calling you to tacos. I mean, you've been talking about tacos.
Well, yeah. If those tacos show up, I don't know. You put the message out to the universe, and sometimes the universe will deliver. Whether it will deliver tacos in the next few minutes remains to be seen. And the viewers out there, to stay tuned, and we will find out if that worked or not.
Well, let's
wait. No, I just wanted to mention something. Because I was watching a video last night.
Okay.
Talking about junk DNA or whatever. I just happened to come across this video on YouTube, and it was about those. And you've probably heard of these skulls that they found in South America. They're
kind of elongated,
big elongated skulls, very strong jawbone. And apparently very large, and they've found some skeletons to go with them. And these are like, these are like 2.5 meter skeletons, right? They're big. They're like, they're bigger than Homo sapiens, and they're not Homo sapiens. Their skulls are formed differently. The plate structure is different.
Right.
Do you have anything about that?
I can't say that I have the in-depth knowledge.
Yeah.
However, having said that, it's probably no surprise to you that when we look to Hollywood, we can find little tidbits of truth being revealed to us through movies. Like
Close Encounters,
Captain America, Close Encounters, E.T. But there was also an Indiana Jones movie, the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, or something.
And
like
we
that.
know there are crystal skulls, like real ones.
Yes. So, and the fact that it has now been revealed as being real tends to make one think. I think back now to this movie of Indiana Jones and the power that was held within this one skull. When you were in possession of that skull, which had been separated from its body, the journey was to get that skull back to its body.
Yeah.
Throughout the course of the movie. And of course the Nazis were trying to control this skull, try to capture it. They wanted to find the temple where all the skulls are. And eventually when Indiana Jones and his crew find this cavern, they place the skull back on its body, and all the skulls and the bodies, which were in a circle, begin to activate. And essentially what happens is a ship begins to rise out of the temple, whatever it was, a pyramid, I can't remember. It was quite a long time ago. But the belief is, or some sources are saying, that we as humans are beginning to evolve to a space of crystallizing our DNA. We are moving towards becoming more crystalline entities. Now, some people will use fifth dimensional vibration or something similar to that. What this means, I'm not sure I can tell you, and I don't want to necessarily deceive the listeners by saying I know what's going to happen. Somewhere inside of us, we have the answer, but it just hasn't been activated within our memory yet. And we're in uncharted waters at this point in time. The leaders think they are still in control of the world. I don't believe they are.
Right.
It's becoming more and more clear that they're not. But they're desperately trying to maintain this facade that they're in control. I mean, the media is actively trying to scare people with false flag shooting events and to say that, you got to focus on celebrities or focus on this individual or focus on that individual. Whenever something happens, the trick really is not to give in to the fear, but to begin looking behind the event. In other words, what is it that we are being distracted from when the mainstream media wants me to focus on this particular event? If it's a shooting, why do they want us to focus on this? Because I can almost guarantee that they are doing something else in the background that is more important.
But if they're losing power, then what's going to happen, Geoffrey?
That remains to be seen. Again, we're in uncharted waters where human consciousness can play out in a wide variety of ways. And the humans that think they have power have been actively trying to start World War III.
They have?
Yeah. And my well, again, if one accepts certain sources as true, the global cabal has actively tried to start World War III on more than 3 or 4 occasions now, but they have been unable to do so. The question is, why haven't they been unable to do so? One theory, and this again comes back to the disclosure movement, when Stephen Greer had his press conference in May of 2001, he had 30 or 40 people up on stage who were prepared to testify before Congress as to their involvement in different levels of disclosure. One of those people had spoken of how things... I got off on my track and I forgot where I was going with it. One of them was Carol Rosin, anyway.
It's probably the chemtrails getting to you.
So maybe it is the chemtrails. That could very well be it.
I know they stole my future.
Maybe the memory will come back to me when I talk about this other experience. Carol Rosin was one of the speakers, and she had worked fairly closely with a chap named Werner von Braun. And Werner von Braun had apparently told Carol Rosin on his deathbed that you will know the global cabal is starting to lose control when they start playing the alien invasion card. So right now we're starting to witness disclosure leaking out on multiple different levels. NASA is doing what I call a soft disclosure.
Okay, hang on. They're playing the what card?
Alien invasion card. Thank you. Alien invasion card.
Is that different than the aliens landing and giving us their technology card?
Well, depending on the source that you follow, the belief is that certain non-Earth civilizations have already been giving humanity advanced technologies, and this is what the cabal has been controlling over the last 50 or 60 years.
That's how they came up with the TRB.
That's how
70.
Television came, probably. That's how computers came. That's how the computer chips, everything that's been gradually coming out, I suspect, has been a form of disclosure from the global cabal and the advanced non-Earth negative entities. So it was given in exchange for humans to be participating in various abduction experiences. Now,
like Travis Walton.
A bit like Travis Walton, yes. So talking about the various abduction experiences. Now, was it a real non-terrestrial abduction, or was it a cabal-created abduction? In other words, was a human being teleported to some kind of lab somewhere in Canada or the U.S.
or
on
Mars,
in the world,
because they have the jump rooms.
They've got the jump rooms, yeah. It's very... probably blowing people's minds.
Obama was there in the 70s.
Yeah, so the story is that Obama participated in a Mars jumping program.
Yeah.
Andrew Basiago, who is currently a U.S. presidential candidate in the election.
He sat in the Montauk chair.
So apparently he did. So
which, by the way, was modeled in the what's that? Those movies with Patrick Stewart was in it.
Like you're thinking, like the Star Trek or the X-Men?
X-Men.
Okay.
They did the Montauk chair in the X-Men.
There you go.
Okay. What about the Blue Avians? Are they good guys?
I'm still trying to figure this one out. They're, for the benefit of the listeners, I'm not saying I know everything about this, but there is a chap named Corey Good. He has been working fairly closely with another chap, David Wilcock. David Wilcock has his own... are we queuing for a commercial break?
No.
There we go. David Wilcock has been writing several books and has been talking about geopolitical events and connecting with the galactic families. Now, Corey Good, from what I understand of his story up to now, he apparently has been off Earth on numerous different types of missions. He has been speaking out about the existence of at least 5 different secret space programs, SSPs, he calls them. Now, one of these secret space programs is called Solar Warden, and Solar Warden is believed to be connected to the U.S. Navy, and there are several connected to various other factions. It is believed at this time that the secret space programs have been interacting with various off-Earth cabal ships from Earth. So there is apparently a form of galactic war or star war beginning to play out beyond the Earth. And in some cases, when people are following the the International Space Station website, there have been the odd videos coming out of flashes of light appearing around the space station. So the astronauts have been briefed to not talk about this, to not go into this subject, but it is becoming a bit more clear that NASA may be participating in a form of soft disclosure. And they're allowing certain small bits of information to get out there because they know that people are now watching for this and that people are going to start knowing what to look for. And it's the same with a false flag event. The moment there's a shooting somewhere, people immediately, they go to Facebook, they try to look and find out if a profile was created before the event actually happened. They're going to Google, they're going and looking at everything they can possibly find because they now know what to look for. So the moment a false flag event happens, people are on it. And the videos start appearing within days. You know, that the shooting in Orlando, for example, as tragic as it was, the evidence appears to suggest that nobody died until the SWAT team went into the facility around mid-morning. And that's just one of the oddities. There's videos coming out of crisis actors carrying people, then basically setting them down as soon as they think they're off camera.
Yeah.
So it's very clear that some form of power, whoever they are, I call them the global cabal, they are trying to orchestrate these kinds of events to put people into fear. Now, the question is, what might they be doing? And this is why I say you always have to go behind the scenes to figure out what they're trying to distract you from. I have a friend who knows someone in Orlando whose partner was killed in this event. So it's clear that people are dying, at least some of them, maybe not all of them, but some people are being killed off. And the trick now is to find out who those people were, or what were those people connected to in Orlando. Why is it that the SWAT team would go in there at that time on that particular night and take out a certain number of people and do it in this kind of style that they did it?
Okay, so we have Jen Frankel joining us here on the show.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Gosh, I'm so sorry I wasn't here for the rest of this. This is fascinating stuff.
Isn't it?
It's really cool.
Okay.
It's interesting, too, because I know that with Orlando, we always talk about how it seems like the reason was to try to get gun control passed in the States.
Yep.
Very much in the way that after the Tasmanian shooting at Port Arthur in Australia.
Yes. Yeah.
Actually kindled that
when
debate.
Was that? How many?
That was 96, maybe?
There's been so many since then.
It's like 95 or 96, but it's been literally 20 years since that.
And that was fake. And also the one in Ottawa was fake, wasn't it?
I believe it was. Yeah.
Right? And nobody even cares about any of that stuff.
Well, we kind of like the fact that we had a Canadian hero for a while, though. That was kind of fun. The guy who took the gunman down.
The speaker was
and then and Harper went and hid in the closet.
And then Harper went and cowered in the closet.
And
Jeez,
but apparently the guy, the guy that was killed.
Why can't we have a leader who actually...
You mean like Jean Chrétien attacking the guy who broke into his house?
Yeah, that was good.
That was kind of fun.
A leader who will actually say, listen, all of you stay away. I'm the leader of this country. I'm the one who's going to go and face this down.
Exactly.
You mean like they would on
like a superhero?
Heaven forbid we should ever have a leader like that.
We should give our Prime Minister a cape. Right?
Only if it's deserved. I don't know if we have a leader who's ever deserved that yet.
Well, we got Justin now. Justin should have a cape.
Yeah,
the jury is still out.
He'd have a uniform with a big C on it, and we don't want to go to the big C, I don't think.
What does the C stand for?
Well, like, it'd be Canada, but the big C
or
is
conservative,
like...
or...
Could be any number of things.
Yes,
no, exactly. But... I'm sure a lot of people's minds have been blown into overload here. Because everything is so interconnected. We're looking at changes happening not only on the inner level. We're looking at changes happening on a geopolitical level, which I call the bigger picture. And then we're also having the bigger picture, which goes into the whole spiritual aspect, the whole larger reason why humans are experiencing this whole shift at this time? Why is it that so many of these events are coming out? And why is it that people are falling into fear? Why is it that the stock markets are going berserk? Why now, people are basically saying, and why me? Why are things happening to me right now?
See, I'd be asking, why has it taken 20 years for us to follow in the footsteps of Australia?
Well, what did they do?
Well, that was there were a lot of really interesting anomalies with the Port Arthur shooting. And you're aware of the Port Arthur shooting?
I'm not aware of that.
I'm not either.
No.
But I want to hear it.
It's 35 people, I think, were killed. Largest mass shooting in Australian history. And a few years earlier, somebody had actually said in the government, we're not going to get gun control passed in Australia until there's a mass shooting in Tasmania.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then a few years after that, this mass shooting happens in Tasmania. Yeah. But the fallout from that has actually been that Australia now has some of the best, not just strictest, but the best, most sensible gun legislation in the world.
Wait a sec. Are you for gun control?
Well, here's the thing. I'm totally for keeping guns out of the hands of idiots. I mean, I think that having a gun,
and I want a gun.
There's enough. We complain enough about Toronto drivers. We complain enough about idiots who have cars, and we force them to get licenses and take tests and everything. I think that there should at least be that when you're carrying something around that can actually kill people.
Yeah,
but I don't see a downside to what's happened in Australia. So, is there ever a chance that some of these manipulations are being done for an actual positive benefit, or is it all about money? Or
it's about gun control. I think it's about gun control, especially in the U.S.
Well, no one took the guns away from the Australians.
Well, they registered them at least. See, the thing about it is, like, and I kind of like, I know. I just think that if you take the guns away, then the only people that will have guns are criminals in the government.
Right.
Well, or
right?
people
and
who
I don't
are
trust
getting them
either
licensed.
of those. Huh?
I just think people who get them...
If they're licensed, then the government knows who's got the guns.
I'm okay with
right?
that.
I think everyone should have anti-aircraft.
We should be able to shoot down drones from Amazon.
Bruce
Coburn?
And chemtrail planes. Right?
Bruce Coburn?
We should have those?
If I had a rocket launcher.
Exactly.
No. The real challenge here is that, again, there's something else at play here. There's the MK Ultra program, the mind controlling program
in Montreal.
All these individuals who have gone in and committed these acts of violence. I'm not convinced that they were of sane mind.
Yeah, I agree.
So something either provoked them to doing this. They were either mind controlled, bribed, threatened, or otherwise coerced into doing these particular events.
Well, that's very strange.
The agenda.
I mean, even going back to Sirhan, who is in jail to this day,
and he doesn't
shooting.
really remember what.
Yeah, he doesn't at all.
Yeah.
And then that movie, the original Manchurian Candidate, which you'll
was Denzel Washington?
No, that's the remake.
The remake.
See, the original.
Okay.
It was Angela Lansbury
And Frank Sinatra.
Yes.
Ooh,
right?
Okay.
Was it Frank Sinatra?
Yeah, amazing role.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
And it was filmed in '62, I think.
Okay.
Wasn't released until '82.
Was it really?
Yeah, that's the thing that nobody remembers. They didn't really. They put that in the can. Okay.
Interesting.
Because I think it was supposed to be released maybe around right when John F. Kennedy got shot. Right at that time.
Too much.
And they did not release it until the '80s. Just something to. There you go.
You can see it up there on the
screen. Does it
screen.
talk there about when it was actually
1962.
released? Well, that's when it was made, but it wasn't released until until the 80s.
It doesn't say there. What we're witnessing right now is reminiscent of what the Nazis did before World War II. They enacted gun control legislation. They got the people of Germany, first of all, they brought them all up into this wave of nationalism, which is what the U.S. is basically doing, throwing people behind the flag, getting them all wound up into this higher vision. Then you throw out a false flag event, you get people scared crapless so that they're willing to surrender some of their rights and freedoms for more protection. So the governments begin to take away people's guns, and this is essentially what happened in Germany before Germany became the alleged threat that it became. I argue that Germany was allowed Hitler was allowed to do what he did. Hitler is still alive somewhere in Argentina, but let's not go there just yet.
Plus, he was spotted in rural Manitoba not too long ago.
I heard about that.
Oh,
and he
Did
wasn't
you
just
really?
just not on a piece of toast or anything like that. Like Elvis always gets spotted.
No, he was actually walking around. He might have a farm
Was he in
there,
Costco?
or
Oh, okay.
Huh?
Okay.
I just always think that you're going to find apparently dead world dictators in Costco. It just seems like their kind of place.
Well, they have to.
They've got to stock up on toilet paper
and beefaroni.
So, beefaroni. Chef Boyardee.
That's right.
So how do you actually see if guns are taken away from Americans, say, how do you see it actually progressing? Because the Democrats have been fighting really hard. Apparently, well, I mean, we had that nice sit-in with the House of Representatives where they were actually just fighting for 2 pieces of legislation.
Yeah.
And they couldn't even get those through. And that's with the will of the... Do you see that that things would change different? Would it be different between a Republicans in power versus Democrats in the states? Would you see the guns go away faster with the Republicans or with the Democrats?
I'm hesitant to say because I know that both parties are essentially controlled at the uppermost level.
So they're basically going to do the same things, but in different ways, optically?
Probably in different ways, yeah. It's going to play out, but there's one card that nobody really talks about at this time that could tip the scale. I mean, we're in a much different energetic period than we were in the 1940s. So certain events were able to take place in the 1940s because the planetary human consciousness was such that it was allowed at that time.
And mass media helps too.
And mass media helps. And now we're in a period where the energies just don't seem to allow the cabal, this global cabal, to get away with anything that they're doing. So as much as this cabal tries to do something, there is a shift happening in consciousness that people are able to either intuit or sense that something is wrong, or they are beginning to find information that proves these events as wrong, or they're just simply able to start calling out all the BS that the mainstream media, the politicians, and everyone in power. And people will say, well, why is that happening now? That's a little bit harder of a question to answer because it depends. The best I can give the viewer at this point in time is to say that the same way as our planet goes around the sun and experiences a shift in the seasons, our solar system is actually moving around a much larger galactic sun. And in certain parts of that journey, there are different phases of energy. There's a radiation belt that apparently our solar system is going through right now in its own journey around the galactic sun. And it is believed, and I can't say from my own, so please don't accept anything I say as truth, but what I believe is happening is that these energies are beginning to not only shift Earth, but it's also shifting human consciousness. It's shifting us in a much deeper atomic level, and it's beginning to awaken humanity, awaken our planet, and it's beginning to allow people to have certain experiences that they were never able to have before. And that's part of the reason why I think the global cabal is on its dying days, even though it doesn't look like it to many at this time. I believe they're on the way out.
I like this. This is the first time I've ever heard anybody talk about these subjects and actually have a sense of hope about it. You actually have a sense of optimism about how the future might play out then?
My belief and feeling is that it has been preordained. Now, of course, there's always the possibility that human free will choose to sink planet Earth. There is always that possibility. I'm not willing to go there. I am seeing, again, this is based on my role as anchor of a newscast, based on the information I report to the people of the world. I have reason for hope. I am seeing a profound shift in human consciousness. I'm seeing an awakening occur on levels that most people are not yet seeing. But having said that, I do believe that the mainstream public will start seeing more of this over the coming months. I believe that things are going to be exposed on a much bigger level. We're going to see a whole different scenario possibly play out in the U.S. election. My theory is there may not even be a U.S. election.
I think Obama's going for a third term.
So, depending on how things play out, I know a lot of people feel Obama is bad. I'm not yet convinced of that. how I'm looking at it is this way. Well, every president, U.S. president, is basically a puppet. Every Western leader is essentially a puppet to this larger global cabal. What we've been witnessing is this very odd campaign of Russian demonization. Although it's been going on for a long period of time, it could be argued that the big event that triggered the new Cold War, if you want to call it that, against Russia was the events in Ukraine. Now, the U.S. media, the Western media, has been trying to blame Russia for the events that happened in Maidan Square in January of 2014. Everything that I've seen so far suggests otherwise. There are 2 voice recordings that were released on the internet. I aired them on my newscast in January of 2014. One was between Victoria Nuland and the U.S. ambassador to Kiev, or Ukraine, Geoffrey Pyatt. The other was a conversation between Ulf Erdmas, if I remember his name correctly, and Catherine Ashton, who was part of the EU. Victoria Nuland and Pyatt were recorded talking about getting their candidate into power in Ukraine. Erdmas and Ashton talked about the events in Maidan Square where there were not police officers, there were snipers on the roofs of buildings shooting both police officers and civilians. So there was a third force in play.
Just raising the body count.
Yeah, so they were the agents provocateurs that were basically setting up everything that began to unfold in Ukraine. But this became the media excuse to start blaming Russia. And since then, they've tried to blame the Malaysian Airlines Flight 17 crash over the Ukraine. They've tried to blame that on the Russians. They're trying to blame
that was
Russian.
Really that other plane that went missing.
It could have been.
They switched the numbers. It's a big scam.
Wow. I could go on about this, what I've discovered about that, but I don't think we'll touch that.
I just want to say, because we're actually running out of time, because we have to get George on the show, right?
Yeah.
But maybe, I know you're sticking around, so maybe after we'll get you back.
There's a possibility we'll be able to continue later on.
I just wanted to make the point, though, that I think there was an announcement. I don't know if Canadians are even aware of this, but Justin is sending Canadian troops to Latvia.
Really?
Did you know that?
The Low Countries, those little places.
Well, those aren't the Low Countries. Those are
the Baltics.
The Baltic states.
Oblasts. But I mean, that's Latvia, part of the former Soviet Union. Ukraine, part of the former Soviet Union. You know, so Putin is looking at all this and he's going, "What are these guys doing in our backyard?" And I remember how John F. Kennedy felt when Russia sent missiles into Cuba.
And that was just one little country, Cuba. And here's NATO putting 800 and some bases all along Europe and the southern border along Russia.
Yeah. So, Geoffrey, so what's your website? We got it up here. Cosmic Vision
Coming up,
News,
CosmicVisionNews.com. It airs Friday evenings, usually around 7 p.m., although over the last few months it's been a little bit later, but it's on and around. But the website has the newscast available, and anyone can listen to it during the week. The 4 most recent newscasts are available on the homepage, and people can also go into the blog if they want to look any further back than that. The show offers news from the geopolitical circle, geoeconomic circle, from alternative health, tech and science news, also disclosure news relating to our galactic families, and anything else that I feel might be relevant to people around the world, to becoming more informed as to what the global cabal has been hiding from us, and hopefully to empower people as well to make new choices to co-create a much better world than what we've been living in up to this point.
Fantastic. Well, let's get some blue avians in here sometime, Geoffrey.
Yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, I'll try and do a bit more research on that for the next conversation. I'll see what I can.
Okay, cool. Because I think blue is a great skin color,
isn't it? Though,
you know what I mean, or feathers,
isn't it? This is my avatar look.
So let's get you back later in the show, hopefully, and we'll carry on.
See how it plays out.
Who do we have coming up next, Jen?
We got George Mihalka. This man's a legendary Canadian director. He did original My Bloody Valentine, and recently did a show called 24-Hour Rental that's hilariously fun. Really looking forward to talking to him. He's got some really cool, exciting stuff coming up.
Fantastic. All right, so we're going to take a little break here on Liquid Lunch. We're going to come back with George Mihalka as we continue here on thatchannel.com.